Hello and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ryan Eichten, and with me today, after an annoying Wolves loss, Lakers fan Harrison Faigen from SB Nation. Harrison, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and that sounds like better than you. I enjoy. I don't know about you and your listeners, but I enjoyed last night's game. I had a great time.
Yeah, I guess when your team has a loss like that, you go, "Oh, it's just one of 82, right?" And then when they win, it's like, "Well, sky's the limit." It's you try to.
Well, yeah,
yourself.
I mean, I don't know. We're gonna get into like the team's longer term stuff. Like, I don't know. Sky's the limit. I don't know. But after last night, it was feeling like it when Austin hit that shot, and it just it just didn't even touch a single part of the rim and just sailed through. It was feeling pretty good then.
Yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into the game because I think we'll talk about it, but it's more reflective of where the Wolves are at. The Lakers scratch out a game with half their roster out. But yeah, the Wolves just played. It's the same game they've played. The Timberwolves have played all year. They're not playing any defense. I don't know what's going on. They're 27th in defensive rating, which is a far cry from where they finished last year at 6th. I'm not sure you could find a 5-game stretch where they were 27th. And then 2 seasons ago, they were not just first, but so far a historic gap between first and second. And then last year, the Thunder replicate that to an extra degree. But like, I remember I wrote some sort of piece that was like, this Wolves defense is the best of the past, like the past 10 years or something, or it was in the realm of that. And now they can't guard anyone until they get their heads out of their asses basically and start guarding in the fourth, and they play a little zone and get back into the game. But then they need one stop, and you can convince yourself everything's like we made it out of this crap show alive. And that's kind of where I want to start, is that final defensive possession, because I just thought it was a disaster from the Wolves' perspective on every single way, where I don't know where Rudy's going. Like, just watching it over and over every time I see him, like, Rudy, where are you going?
I believe he is still running. As we are talking right now, he's still running the opposite direction from Austin Reaves.
Yeah, I mean, I get that that they were high hedging or whatever. Like, that was the idea, but like, there's 6 seconds left. You can't let him split. If Reaves, if you're like,
he's the one guy who can score too.
Yeah, so it's like, if he goes back and hits a step back 3 on you and wins the game, then you go, whatever. We shouldn't have been up only 1 with 6 seconds left. But like, the one thing you can't do is let him split and get into the lane. And the Wolves, just with their current personnel and the injury stuff, don't have the personnel to like correctly rotate and have. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo's rotating, tries to take a charge for some reason, and then Reaves hits the.
Well, everybody knows you're going to get that call against Austin in the last like 1 second of the game anyway, right?
Right. Well, I'm a ban the charge type of guy, especially like those like rotate over. Just seeing any player try to take a charge in a big moment, it's just like, what do you? But I mean,
I agree. I don't like charges either, because it's like, why are we putting guys in this athletic in situations where obviously Austin Reaves and Dante DiVincenzo are maybe not the examples that we're going to use of the most athletic guys in the NBA, but like, why are we putting guys moving at these speeds and like encouraging them to have their bodies collide like in like a prone position or whatever? Yeah, I agree with that, but it's also like, yeah, you have to know the refs are never going to give you that call on like a buzzer beater. You're never going to get the charge call there. No matter who you are, no matter what team you play for, no matter whatever, like that's just not happening.
Yeah. And even throwing out I don't necessarily believe this way, but like the Laker official conspiracy theories, if that a certain segment of people have, like, you're not, if you do think you're going to get that call, probably not going to get it against the Lakers and Austin Reaves. Like, that's part of it. I thought Jaden McDaniels didn't play well on that play, just got totally screened out of the play. I guess if you're going to hedge with Rudy, why not just go under the screen? Or, I mean, the easiest thing to do, they should have just switched. I think
that's what Finch was saying they should have done after the game, right?
Yeah, and Finch took responsibility and said, that should have been communicated. Like, we should have been switching there, because at the same thing I said earlier, it's like, well, one, Rudy's an underrated, like, just in-space defender, like, just one-on-one isolation. He's not, I mean, like, Luka's going to kill him when he's in games, but like, that's the case for everyone, basically. Every big in the NBA is going to have trouble guarding Luka in space. But like, I feel comfortable, especially with only, at that point, 4 seconds left. If Austin Reaves wants to take a step back 3 over Rudy, you live with it. or even just like a step back long two, or whatever he's able to get into if you switch there.
Yeah, and look, respect to Austin, like, you know, I like his game, like there's a lot to like about it, but like he's not gonna blow by Rudy there, you know.
No, he's gonna blow
not
by
a guy
Rudy in the
that's
way
gonna
that he
like
did.
yeah, like he probably would have gotten like the exact step back three that you're talking about, and like that has not been ever really like the strong suit of his game is those pull up threes.
No, the strong suit of his game is what the exact
Exactly
thing
what
we
he
saw
did. Yeah,
hit the winner, and it's just it was a disaster on all fronts, and like even this whole game we'll talk about it, but it's like for the Wolves, it's like, do you win that game if Ant's in there? Probably. Do you win that game if even Jalen Clark is in there, who's their best bench defender? Yeah, probably, I guess. But like, what are we talking about here? The Lakers don't have half their roster, including their two best players. Like, I guess is Austin Reaves. Yeah, LeBron's still probably better than Austin Reaves, right?
I think you would have a hard time making the case that Austin, even as good as he's been the last week, is like better than. I mean, we got to see what LeBron looks like post sciatica, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe there will be a case to be made then, but yeah, I think you still have to say LeBron's probably number two.
But I'll just get off my high horse, I guess, or my Wolf soapbox, just because the vibes are not great in Wolves land, and I don't know if that's. I know that like the internet fandom is in shambles or whatever, which who cares about that, I guess. But I do think that there's kind of some stuff boiling kind of under the surface and just behind the scenes or whatever. And it's certainly fixable. I think I do still kind of believe that there's like a good team in there somewhere, obviously once Ant comes back. But I don't know. What did you from an outside perspective, just for this one game, what did you see from the Wolves just kind of in this game?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I sort of was surprised that you know, again, I'll add the context here that like when Luka got hurt, I sent a tweet to Lakers fans saying like, if the Lakers win more than one game while Luka is out, I will buy a Marcus Smart jersey or role player that goes off of their choices. Looking like I let the internet decide, and it looks like they're going to vote for Bronny James, so I guess I'm going to be the proud owner of a Bronny James jersey. But like that is where I was at with the Lakers, and like the level of chance I felt they had to compete with teams without Luka, without LeBron, you know. And then I didn't even like I didn't know that Marcus Smart was going to be out. I didn't know that they were going to be having all these other additional injuries that they've had. And so I felt like this was like going to be a pretty hopeless week until Luka came back. And, you know, obviously Austin's been unbelievable. I'm, you know, a big Austin guy, but even I would not have expected like no one, if you went to like him or his like family members and gave them truth serum and they're like, do you think that he can do what he did the last 3 games in a row if they just give him the ball every time? Like they probably would say no. And so it just didn't look like a great situation for the Lakers. And I, like you said, I know Ant is out and like that leaves the Wolves at a little bit of a deficit, but I still would have thought, you know, like back-to-back conference finalists, like they're going to have a little bit more there to be able to take care of this Lakers team when it matters. And, you know, they were one possession away from doing so. They made the big comeback. They had the 17-5 run or whatever it ended up being in the final, like, you know, point differential. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough loss. And it's like, I can't remember if you were saying this before or after we got on, but like that's the type of game where it's like when seeding comes down the wire, you may regret dropping that one.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if the Lakers are going to be in the same seeding area as the Wolves, this game is likely to flip the tiebreaker. I mean, they only play 3 times. Maybe they get the play-in replacement game or whatever but like the Lakers are likely going to have the tiebreaker against the Wolves. And I mean, even if they do get that tiebreaker, the Wolves are going to have to win both games. Like you're just kind of behind an 8 ball. You hope that you're not playing catch up the entire season like you were last year, where I believe in March they were at the start of March 1st, they were in the play-in tournament, or like I think they were out of it at that exact moment. You win one game and it was so tight. You win one game and you're back in the 7th seed or whatever. But
yeah.
You just hope that you're not playing from behind the 8 ball, especially that the preseason narratives were like continuity. We brought back the whole same team. Yeah, you lose basically your 8th man in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but you're backfilling with Terrence Shannon, Rob Dillingham, Jalen Clark. Like it's a loss, but like any team that returns their top 7 guys should be able to hit the ground running. And obviously Ant getting hurt is part of the change there, but even if he didn't, like everything else around this team, like the bright spots right now are Julius Randle is playing phenomenal basketball, at least on the offensive end. Jaden McDaniels is blossoming offensively into the guy that I think this like post Rudy trade like they need an asset like Jaden to blossom into like a third best player type of guy. And offensively, those two guys are giving you exactly what you need. But the defense is just such a disaster. Like it's almost just like there's no use breaking anything else down. If they're going to play like the 27th best offense or really a bottom 10 offense, which is even it's the 20th best defense would be, defense. Would the 20th best defense would be a step up from it. Like you need to like there's no use breaking anything else down until they're going to start guarding. And it just, you lose Nikhil, you've lost other defensive type players, Kyle Anderson, just with Rudy on the court. Randall's a downgrade compared to Cat. I know a lot of people don't kind of remember that. Cat was phenomenal defensively season. So they've lost
his
personnel.
Metrics ended up being better than Rudy's that season, if I remember correctly.
Possibly, yeah, because Cat and Nas were pretty good together, I think, that year. But certainly net rating, on defensive rating, I can't really remember.
No, I just remember it was absurdly good. It was like it belied his reputation as a defender. It was really, really, he was up there among the league leaders.
Yeah, there's probably a good case that like Cat was their best player that year. I like Ant, obviously,
and
I think
I believe like attempts at the rim as well. He had like some like crazy percentage, and that flipped when he got to the Knicks and he wasn't playing next to Gobert, but he was like clearly way overqualified for that helper sort of four role.
Right, exactly, and they don't have that, so I guess a little defensive slippage. But like we're not even talking about if they were 8th in defense, you'd go, yeah, that makes sense. They're 27th. And it's obviously just 5 games, and I'm kind of tired of couching everything with, even if it's the correct thing to do, couching everything with it's just 5 games. But like, what's the point? Why are we? There's nothing we can just like shut the podcast off. They're 27th. What like that? Just it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like not to make you or Wolves fans feel worse, but this is not like unstoppable force meets movable object. This is like very stoppable force meets movable object. And, like this is a Lakers team you should be able to stop. The Blazers showed how to do it. I mean, Austin ended up with like 41 in that game, but it was because he had the ball like every single possession, and they were just like, catapulting him into a wall of bodies and like trying to, he's their only guy that can create a shot right now. And so like this should be a team that you are able to stop, or like if you're going to let Austin Reaves go off, then great, like you can do that, but you should be able to stop him from playmaking. And last night he was able to do both again, and that was what was sort of able to get the Lakers over the finish line. Yeah,
16 assists is like obviously, like I think a lot of people look at the 9 of 24 shooting and go, well, they did a good job on him, and to a certain extent maybe that's true. But like 16 assists, I think just shows you what 16 assists and only 3 turnovers, which 3 turnovers for given how much offensive responsibility was in his hands is completely fine. Like the defense is not, it'd be one thing if like, okay, so they get torched by Denver in the previous game, and obviously it wasn't good and it was raising red flags, but ultimately like Nuggets might have the best offense this year. Certainly will be up there.
Yeah, I was going to say Jokic torches everyone. I right. As a Lakers fan, I can attest to that.
Right, and they actually did fine enough scoring wise on Jokic because Rudy can guard Jokic as well as anyone, which is still poor.
Which is still like comparison. Not good. Yeah, it's
right. But
it's
the
like
guy that
people
killed
would always
him,
be like, well, if you wanted a guy to defend Jokic, it would be sort of like Anthony Davis. And I'm like, yeah, but he torches him too. Like it doesn't,
a good Jokic story from last season, I wasn't there, but was when Jokic had a 60-point triple-double, and it was that game, I don't know if you remember, where Westbrook takes a three misses a layup with the shot clock off, and Nikhil gets fouled and hits 3 free throws. And after the game, all the Wolves in the locker room were just like, Jokic is the greatest player to ever touch a bat. Like they were, even Nikhil. Nikhil had something like, you guys know who I'm voting for. Like his cousin was going to win MVP. Like obviously he's in Shea's camp, and even he was like, dude, Jokic is insane.
It's like, look, I'm not going to undermine my cousin, but
Mm-hmm. But in that Denver game, Jamal Murray cooked him. And he's been great to start the season, but like even at least in that point, it's like Ant has been Jamal Murray's responsibility in those playoff series, and you saw 2 seasons ago like they did great defensively. Like that's the first good game Jamal Murray's had against the Wolves in years, and they also missing Jalen Clark. So like that type of loss where you're getting cooked defensively, like you can you can make sense of it. Like the shooting guard, the shooting guard went off when 2 of your defensive shooting guards were out. Okay, that's great. But like this is totally different. Obviously, Reaves plays shooting guard, but like Jaden McDaniels was on him. Your defense around that, like Laravia going 10 of 11. Jake Laravia is a former Timberwolves technically draft pick that traded him on draft night. I mean, I would love to get on here and complain about like shot variance, right? And maybe there's a little bit of that, and probably any 1-point game you can go pick out 2 shots. Like Eichten made a couple shots that were just like you roll your eyes at it. Laravia the same thing, but like it just comes down to like, but you shouldn't have been in that scenario, and that's where like the final few minutes are so frustrating because clearly like I kind of feel like what the Wolves did in that final X minutes was more repeatable than what the Lakers were doing with, given their injuries, the whole first 3 quarters. And so it's just like, if you just would have played like that for even 8 minutes, you crush them, you win going away, and you don't have to worry about shot variance. You don't have to worry about Austin Reaves making a nice play at the buzzer. Like, I don't know. It's always tough to complain about effort or like that type of focus because we don't know what's going on. And like specifically with Naz Reid, who was putrid today, his sister was recently killed a few months ago in the offseason. And so like, obviously if you're out there, you're going to, you like, if there's criticism warranted, people like us are going to say something, but also like, it makes sense. They had a terrible tragedy happen to him, but like everyone else, like, it's just, I don't know what mentally is going on, and because it's hard to really put ourselves in their heads.
You know, I do wonder how much of it, you know, for the team as a whole is, hey, we made 2 conference finals in a row. Obviously, not everyone on the team was there for that. But it's like a little bit, it's not a championship hangover, but it's like, hey, we've gotten pretty far and now it's kind of hard to get up for these regular season games like at the beginning of the year. And I kind of would rather ease my way back into it. Like, how many times have we seen that from teams that either won the title or went really far the year before? Like, it's hard to sort of get yourself back into that mindset of like every single one of these 82 essentially exhibition games in a lot of ways compared to the playoffs matters a whole lot, and it's like hard to get up for that. And it's probably even harder when, you know, like your main guy isn't out there, and you know, it's like, I mean, you would think that maybe that would make guys lock in more. It's like we can't really, like, you know, we can't take it easy tonight. Ant's not here to bail us out. But you know, yeah, I don't know. Again, like, none of us can know what's in the Wolves' heads right now, but I would be curious how much of it is like somewhat level of human nature when you've been playing in these like unbelievable high level competitive games, and then it's like, okay, yeah, you got to go through the regular season again.
Yeah,
Especially after last year, they didn't start that great, and you know, they ended up playing their way into the conference finals again, and so they may have like had that bad habits reinforced and just said like, hey, regular season doesn't really matter. Like, we'll be good when it matters. We can flip the switch.
Yeah, I do think that's a potential for what's going on. Like, my counterpoint to that would be, one, Oklahoma City's 5-0. Like, I know they're in a tier above the Wolves. They're clearly a much better team than the Wolves, but like, ultimately that's the team you're going to have to beat. And they clearly don't seem, they're missing guys too. They like, that's clearly what you're going to have to live up to. And so I understand like the first 4 games, like you don't come out. That's fine, I guess. But even I went to shoot around before the game, and they're talking, Julius and Terrence are talking about like, we just got to go out there and do it. Like, we can sit here and complain about everything else, and we just got to sit here and do it. And I know like there's a lot of just whatever speak in media availabilities, but like, it's just like, it's frustrating to hear that. And then they perform the exact same way, and then they say the same things post game. And you don't want to get too hung up on like the what they're saying in media avails, but like, I get that that's a point, and I just kind of, a bigger part of me kind of goes, yeah, but good teams don't let that hinder their play, even when they have successful seasons.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. It definitely doesn't happen to every single team, but I wonder if it is like, there is a human nature aspect to it, and like some people either have like that Oklahoma City in them, where it's like, hey, we're gonna play hard no matter what, and some teams are a little bit more like, you know, hey, we're gonna try and flip the switch when we can, and like there is a little bit of like, you know, that's just how people are wired. and everyone's wired differently. And so, the Wolves may be a little bit more of a team, like as a team, have some of that DNA where, hey, we've shown that we can turn it on. We're going to do that again. Like I'm not necessarily, I don't want to play playoff level rotational defense, in this first half against Austin Reaves. Like, I don't, yeah, maybe we could full court pressure him. And, that would really put the Lakers in a tough spot because he's their only guy that can dribble right now. But I don't really want to do that. It's like game 5 of the regular season.
Yeah. And part of me would say, like, I guess that's fine, because I would still, right at this moment, still probably expect the Wolves to finish in the top 6. And if you're in the top 6, they even showed this last year. Their seeding last year had nothing to do with them getting eliminated from the playoffs, and they might have even made it an extra round because they were 6 instead of 4 or 5. If they're 4 or 5, good chance they lose in the first round, or certainly the second round against Oklahoma City. But I do think that, like, my bigger thing is, like, the teams that have success with that, with like the flipping the switch, if to use the cliche, have just immense talent on it.
Yeah.
And obviously Ant falls in that category, and maybe to a lesser extent, like Julius Randle falls into that category to a lesser extent. But, like, to me, if this Wolves team is going to win the championship, make the finals, have a good season, they're going to have to be closer to that Oklahoma City side of the spectrum. Because I think they've shown the past 2 playoffs that they can win playoff series, multiple playoff series, having that sort of flip the switch. But eventually you just run into a team that's better than you. And the Western Conference Finals are a perfect example of this. Game 3, they win by 50, 60. They win Game 3 of the Western Finals this last year by 60 points. And right from the jump, Ant is hounding everyone defensively, getting steals. Yeah. They're up 10-0. The game's over. They're playing Pink Pony Club. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're not getting swept,
Right. And then Game 4 comes, and it looks exactly like this type of stuff, where they're kind of going through the motions defensively, and the Thunder win a close one. The Wolves could have won that game if XYZ goes better. But it's just like, I think you win that game, and you're going back, and if you can just bottle that up, and you still had a chance to win that series, and it just kind of felt like you let it go. And maybe it doesn't matter. Watching the 3 games they played in Oklahoma City that series, it just did not seem like the Wolves had any chance to win a game down there. So, okay, you win Game 4, you even win Game 6, and it's just like you're going home 2 games later. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I don't know. I think they need to take this a little bit more seriously than they are. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's worse, and it's structural with the team and the talent and how it works around each other. But and maybe there's some of that, but I really do think it's more just like the mental side of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. And to be clear, I'm not arguing like, hey, the Wolves should be taking it easy and flip the switch later. Like, they've earned that as a conference finalist back to back. And so I was trying to more think like and put myself in their shoes of, hey, last year we started slow, didn't really burn us. It's like what humans are sort of wired to, that we respond to negative consequences to our actions in a lot of ways, I think. And it's like, if you sort of like if you were in a class and you didn't take it all that seriously the entire semester and you kept acing the tests, you wouldn't be like, well, now it's time to really lock in for the final exam, like it's like you would keep sort of doing the habits that got you there. And so I do, and also like I think it is easy for teams, like just like sometimes you'll see teams like have these like crazy, it's like, the 2-3 stars are out, whatever, and it's like, hey, everybody plays the best game of their life because they're like, hey, I'm never gonna get to shoot this much again, and this is amazing, and then and the other team doesn't take them seriously and that sort of thing. Like we see these things happen throughout the regular season, but just as often we see the opposite, where a team is like, hey, like I don't think we really have it tonight, and so I am not gonna give the extra 10% on this defensive rotation. I'm not going to I'm not going to drive the ball all the way in this time and take all that pounding because like I just don't think we have it tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we'll bounce around my outline a little bit because we're talking about the Wolves right now, and we'll head to the Lakers here in a minute. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the Wolves, kind of bigger picture, both for this season, kind of almost setting this game aside. What, as an outsider's view of the Wolves, because I think especially like me going to a lot of the media stuff, and like you just kind of get so zoned in on your own team that it's hard
Yeah.
to know like what the outside is. I wrote down, we kind of already talked about this. Do they seem as unserious from the outside as they do on the inside? I think we covered that type of thing. But like, what were your expectations for the Timberwolves coming into the year? Their over under was 49.5, kind of like a 4 seed. If you had to like generally, almost putting that aside, or I mean, the over under probably now would be 47, 48.5. But like, would you have in theory pick them to like outperform that, be closer like a 2-3 seed type, or kind of more where they were last year last year they won 49, but like the mid 40s where they're kind of fighting closer to the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have going into the season, and again, it's like when fully healthy, we don't know. Like, I don't know exactly like what's Ant's prognosis. Is he going to be back like shortly, or is this like they don't really
Yeah,
know yet?
I think he should be back in 2 weeks. It'll end up being 2.5 because they end up having a 3-day off day break right at the end of his 2-week timetable, which I'm guessing just because they're going to be super cautious with this thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a hamstring strain. They're good. So instead of like his 2-week timetable, instead of trying to get him to play on day 13, you might as well take that extra 3 days break and get him on day, you get 2.5. So I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but it'll be end up being the longest consecutive games he misses in his career. So I think just
Yeah.
that, like, Wolves people don't know how he's going to respond, but ultimately, and is kind of a superhuman. So I mean, if you have to pick a lane, I would guess
Yeah,
that
it's
he'll
like
be fine.
when he got hurt and they said he was going to be out. I was like, oh, that never happens. Like he
Right.
is a guy that just plays. Like you see, there's all the memes of him, like like all the times that he's hit the deck and
Mm-hmm.
like like ran off the floor and whatever, and then it's like he just comes back 5 minutes later
He
and
got
he's
ruled
fine.
out. I can't
It's
remember what the game was. He got ruled out of a game, and then they like went, no, sorry, no, he's coming back.
like no, wait, we meant ruled in, ruled
Yeah,
in. Sorry, ruled out as in he's going to be out there on the
yeah,
floor. Yeah. Um, but like as far I think around you mentioned 4 seed. Like I think that's probably about where I would have had them. Like I don't do like the preseason, over under wins pod that everyone
for
does,
sure.
and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. But like I think I would have had them around the fourth best team in the West. Like I think I have definitely more respect for them than I did going into last year's playoff series when I was way overconfident in the Lakers. And so like I think they're a pretty good team, and the fact that to me, we talked about the back-to-back conference finals runs, like, and it is with like somewhat different rosters. Obviously making the Cat trade is a pretty big team overhaul. I don't have to explain that to Wolves fans. Like you guys went through it for the entire first half of last year where things looked pretty rough and it was looking like maybe that trade was a mistake. And like things just weren't going that well. But the fact that they were able to make it back to the conference finals again, and yeah, like there is some luck there. It's like you said, like drawing the Lakers in the first round turns out that was an incredible matchup for them, and they were able to kick crap out of them and get to the second round where they faced like an injured Warriors, and then like they get to the conference finals again, and the Thunder sort of take care of business. But still, like getting through 2 rounds of the playoffs is not 2 years in a row is not nothing, and I think that really just speaks to how great Ant is, and that you can put him in a lot of different roster contexts. You can have him on the double big with Cat team and he'll figure out how to make it work. You can have him on the very different, like Julius Randle needs the ball to be effective, like style of team. And he's going to make it work. And so like, I think it just speaks to how good he is and how he is just sort of like the exact type of sort of winning two-way, two-guard that you want to build your team around. And so like you mentioned like the rep of them is unserious, and it's funny, like I feel like every fan base thinks that about their team,
Yeah.
except for maybe like Thunder fans. Like Thunder fans are probably like, yeah, no, our guys are locked in every game. But I feel like every fan base sees all the games that their team like gives up a 25-7 run or whatever in some quarter because the other team gets hot from a three and they're like, these guys don't take it seriously. Lord knows I felt it about the Lakers. And I just think that everyone to some degree thinks that about their team because of the way the NBA is now, and there's like a lot of runs and there are a lot of times where guys don't look like they're going 100% in the regular season because it's so long and we see so many injuries. And so like I think that's almost more the nature of the NBA than anything like endemic to the Wolves.
Yeah, that's true. I did have that thought when writing it out. I admittedly wrote it out right after the game, so obviously the bias from the game seeps in. I did like, yeah, I think you're right. I just kind of scrolled through the standings, and obviously, like, maybe Cleveland doesn't view their team as that. Although I'm sure if you asked them halfway through the Indiana series last year, they would
No, that's what I
disagree.
mean.
Like,
Their fans are going to be like, these guys, these losers, like they don't
right.
they don't step up when the playoffs are here. Like they don't take it seriously. They're front runners, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it just like you watch the Thunder, especially like from a regular season standpoint, just roll. Like I think did Chet miss a game? Certainly Jalen Williamson has missed time, and they just keep rolling. Obviously they win 2 double overtime games, so there's a bit of like if you play those games 100 times, they win like 52 of them or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. What's frustrating is like they were supposed to hit the ground running this year, and it's clearly, even like, it's not even about Ant being out. It's just like all the other stuff. And it's kind of, maybe this is too soon to kind of have this conversation, but it's like, if they don't figure this out, this is something that like I've been thinking about. It's like, what is their next move? Where is like because they're going to have to, like, Mike Conley's kind of on his last legs. The point guard situation, I kind of think the answer there is Ant, you're the point guard now. You are and I think it would be good to have like a Mike Conley type as your bench point guard to like support that. And if there's closing minutes or you need a true point guard out there, you play it that way. If you don't, you have like, you play like giant lineups with like Jaden and Nas in there, both with the 2 standard bigs. So I do think that's kind of the point guard. Just, it's Ant, and then you have maybe like if they can get Rob, they really need, from an asset standpoint, to get Rob Dillingham going at some point.
Yeah.
So, but I think his ceiling is probably like a sixth man scorer type instead of like a true starting point guard. But I guess, what do you think? They are asset strapped in terms of picks. They don't, this offseason they'll unlock whatever far in the future 2033 pick they can trade. But if this team does have a ceiling, I mean, right now we'd hope, can we find a ceiling? We're trying to guard anyone. But do you think that, like, I don't know, what do you agree with me that like it does kind of feel like they need like another true, like an all-star caliber player around Ant? And maybe that's Julius, because I think like he has a pretty solid, if he keeps up these numbers through the first 5 games, he probably will make the all-star team if the Wolves start winning a few games to like warrant a second pick, assuming like Ant's the first pick. What do you like?
And he's made all-star games before. Like, he's that caliber of player. He is like, he's made all NBA teams. Like, he's a guy that's like, yeah, he's not going to make it every single year to either of those things, but like he's a guy that's going to be in the conversation almost every single year. And some years when he's a little better, he's going to make it. He is that level of guy.
If he was in the East, he would make it every year.
Yeah, well, Knicks fans would argue with that, but you mentioned you mentioned the continuity thing, and it's funny. I become wary of continuity as like a buzzword ever since the Lakers sort of started using it. Like it was the year of the like after they made the conference finals and got swept by the Nuggets. They're like, well, but we got continuity coming into this year, and we got a full training camp and whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you guys made no moves, and as soon as you played the team that won the title, you didn't look like an NBA roster anymore. It's like, what do you mean, like, you have continuity? Like, that's like, what does that mean? Like, you have continuity of like a team that, and then so I've become wary of that as a buzzword. Like, it feels like something that teams say when it's like, we didn't make any other good moves, and so we're just going to try and show confidence in our group. And yeah, like, I think continuity, it can be a real thing. Obviously, for the Celtics 2 years ago, that was a thing where like they made the Kristaps edition, they made the Drew edition, but all of those other guys had been there together and had played together for a long time, and it really showed as they went through the playoffs that there was like a lot of chemistry built in there. The Thunder obviously like have a lot of continuity on their side as they sort of made their additions on the fringes and were able to get over the top, but they had like a lot of sort of like internal like internal knowledge of how each other played, and a lot of reps together. And so I think there's something to it, but oftentimes it feels like more often in today's NBA, teams say that when it's like, well, we didn't make a move, so we're just going to say that like playing together for longer is going to make everyone better. And like, that's probably true to some small degree, but it also doesn't necessarily help if Ant is out. And like, if the team just straight up like isn't good enough. And because like, you could argue again like that they had some tight games in that Thunder series, but like they ultimately lost in 5 games, right? Like it's like, again, it's like, yeah, you have continuity, but it's continuity of a team that was only able to win 1 game against the team that won the title. And so how much does that really mean? Like how much are you carrying forward out of that? It's similar to the Lakers thing with the Nuggets a couple of years ago. It's like, yeah, like, okay, all these guys that lost in like this really short amount of time, but they're going to have played together longer now.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is when continuity involves D'Angelo Russell, maybe it's not the best thing. Maybe that's where we're at. I do tend to agree.
The Mavs don't have enough continuity with D'Angelo Russell yet. I think that's their problem. They're gonna like once they get a full training camp again with D'Lo next year, when he like picks up his player option, they'll be fine.
The Schadenfreude with Dallas, obviously. The Luka, the saying defense win championships and then immediately signing D'Angelo Russell is phenomenal comedy.
Well, defense wins championships like when you have it around like Kyrie. You have defense around Kyrie, like whatever, and then it's like, well, shit, Kyrie's hurt. Like we have some good defenders, but we need somebody that can dribble. Let's sign D'Angelo Russell and apparently not talk about it with the coaching staff because they're just going to bring him off the bench anyway, and we're going to have like the most hopeless offensive starters like the league has seen in quite a while.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought like D'Angelo, like he made sense for that roster, especially because like when Kyrie comes
apparently
back,
Jason, they didn't run it by Kid though. It's like.
Because it kind of makes sense. It's like Kyrie eventually come back, and then you can kind of quietly kick D'Lo to the curb. And it's like they needed someone like I don't know, like D'Lo. I don't know. D'Lo probably is weirdly underrated. Maybe I don't know.
He's a weird guy because it's like, it never feels like he's properly rated. He's either overrated at the time or he is like underrated because he has so many sort of like airhead qualities that, it's like, like he's better than you. Like he's not a bad player. He's just not a guy that is probably you're going to build like a title winner around. Yeah. I think we can say at this point.
Here's what I'll say. He's underrated by Wolves fans because they traded him and the franchise immediately shot to the moon because Mike Conley was so awesome. So it's like hard for Wolves fans. It's just kind of like, and despite like the Wolves tried to sign him the first time and they spurned him and went to Golden State and they had to trade the pick that became it's a whole thing with D'Lo and the Wolves. I probably not too dissimilar with Lakers fans and D'Lo at this point.
I think aside from Nets fans, I don't know that you're going to find a whole lot of fan bases that are like, we love D'Lo. Our D'Lo experience was great.
Well, at least the Wolves only tried it once. The Lakers came back.
Well, for now, they're gonna just wait. Every team ends up coming back for more D'Lo eventually.
That was the joke. It's like the Wolves should sign D'Lo, and then we can just get the merry-go-round going and send him back to LA.
He's got to go to the Warriors again first, and then he'll get traded to the because he made it back to the Nets. It's like every team eventually goes back for more D'Angelo Russell. They're like, but it didn't work for us the last time, but maybe this time.
It's the Arrested Development meme.
Yeah, exactly.
All those people delude themselves into thinking it could work for us.
Yeah, that's what our Mavs blog was saying about the D'Lo signing, and it turns out they were fairly prescient there.
Oh, well, God bless the Mavs blogging community. Good luck out there. I don't know. I just thought about that. Like if that whatever equivalent of the Luka trade happened to me, I would just burst into flames. I'd just be. I mean, it's actually pretty easy.
Mavs Moneyball essentially did burst into flames for. I would say about 2 to 3 months there. It was like a daily like. They weren't necessarily arguing that something bad should happen to Nico Harrison beyond firing, but they weren't like arguing against it either.
Yeah, and for Wolves fans, it's actually very easy to imagine like the theoretical equivalent. It's actually extremely easy to the point of I'm pretty sure. Well, I guess pretty sure the Mavs called the Wolves to make a trade there.
It seems like based on the reporting that it's like that's probably who they called. It seems like they called the Bucks and the Wolves were the other teams that sort of got the opportunity to bid on Luka.
Which I did ask around to media and like Wolves staffers that like lower level ones I have the opportunity to meet, and like I got mixed responses of what if you would take that trade. I think I think it's mostly everyone pretty much agreed no, because it's hard to like it would just throw everything into chaos. Even if it
I also just
made
think it's
sense on
hard to do
paper.
that with like a guy that, I mean, the Mavs did it, but it's hard to do that with a guy that the fan base loves and has endeared. Like, there's something more to sports than just like the pure
Yeah.
one-to-one talent trade in or out. Whether you think Luka or Ant is better, like, it almost doesn't matter, because it's like Ant is your guy. You know, you're not
Right.
gonna, like, you don't want to trade him for Luka because, like, you've been arguing against Luka all of this time.
Hmm.
Like, there's this, like, we develop these attachments in sports. It's like, like the Luka trade, like, I felt for Mavs fans because I know how I would have felt,
Oh.
as a kid, or like as somebody who had grown up watching the Lakers, if the Lakers had actually traded Kobe when he demanded the trade. And that was when he was demanding it. And I still would have been mad at the team and
Right.
like mad that he went on somewhere else. And like, much less if like Kobe had been like, hey, I want to be a Laker for life, even though things aren't going great. And then they traded him to the Bulls for like Luol Deng and, like some picks and whatever. And,
Hmm.
AD's better than Luol Deng. But like, it's, like, it's that feeling of like everyone can sort of conceptualize that of like, you can think about how you would feel if Ant was traded in the middle of the night for like an older star. And it's like,
Hmm.
hey, like, maybe this gives us a chance to win. Like, this team kind of looks okay, but you sort of just rip the heart of it out and it just doesn't feel the same. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's I think having to be to the Lakers specifically is also extra salt in the
Look,
wound.
I'm a Lakers fan, but I get it.
Yeah, you have to get it. I mean, I don't have like the negative opinion feelings of Laker fans as I do for like Yankees fans. But my biggest frustration with like Yankees fans specifically is like when they don't. Here's a good example. So the Twins played the Yankees in like the 2015 wild card game, and I remember in the intros, like the player intros, they played the Sith music for the Twins, and they had the Rebel music for the Yankees, and I was like, no, you are the evil empire. What are you
Yeah, you gotta
like?
you gotta embrace that.
The
It's
Twins are you're the rebels, and the Twins are the. What are you talking about? You're the Death Star. What are you?
hey, the We Believe Yankees, just another small family business like the Lakers, just trying to
God.
get by in this world of like all these mega corporation owned teams and whatever. It's like it's just this little Steinbrenner family business. Like, they're trying
It's
to
almost
get
like
by.
you watched A New Hope, and it's instead of being like, oh, the rebels are so cool. No, just plug the whole of the Death Star. Just put a thing over the one thing, and now you're just the Death Star. Like,
Yeah.
that almost bugs me more than like them in the Yankees case spending more money than everyone else. It's just like, don't pretend like you're not what you are. And the Lakers to a lesser extent didn't do that here, but it's just like, yeah, don't bullshit me, basically.
Well,
I
the Lakers won't be a small family business for much longer, so they're going to have
no,
to shift to Evil Empire music for their intros. But for now, it's like Genie Bust's small little family business against the world. So yeah, I don't know how you could ever call us the Empire.
yeah, I do think that's a good segue to shift to kind of more talking about your team. And do you know why? Because from what I gathered, Jeannie was like between the family was the deciding vote to sell. It seems
Mm-hmm.
weird timing for her to want to sell. I mean, I don't know much into that dynamic, but I guess she had 10 billion reasons to want to sell, right?
Yeah, well, so they won't get quite that. Like, the whole team was valued at 10 billion. They're selling, I think the guy that's coming in, he already owned 28 or
Sure.
27%, and so they're selling, enough to give him a
But
majority
it
stake,
was
and they're
at
still going to have a minority stake. So
the
they're not getting
valuation was
10.
10 the valuation was 10 billion, wasn't it?
Yeah, the valuation
Yeah.
was 10 billion. So they're getting,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, they're probably getting 4 or 5 billion, which is still a lot of money, and a lot more money than, like, they were going to have. And they're still going to get to own a chunk of the Lakers that they can then sell, for more money down the line if they
Mm-hmm.
would like to. But so I think the reason for the sale is like, I think there's a number of reasons. And like, I think the most human one probably is that I think it's, if you grow up as like Miss Golden Child, Miss like Heir to the Throne, like she was having like Kobe call her the mother of dragons, like Daenerys Targaryen, whatever. It's like, that doesn't feel as good when you're the Daenerys Targaryen that's getting stabbed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're no longer the savior, and it's like everyone's mad at you because you're in charge now, and now it's like, wait, now you're getting judged for your decisions instead of getting judged by through the lens of like, you're not Jim Bus. And so everybody's like, oh man, I hope Jeannie takes over the team during like those years and stuff. It's like, oh, Jim's an idiot, and like we want Jeannie, and like her dad should have left her in charge, and so she does, and then things, like they won the title, but there were also like a lot of embarrassing years and bad years in there too. And I wonder if like it's just the criticism at some point gets to you, and it's like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Everybody's just mad at me all the time, and everybody's constantly trying to get me to fire my friends, and like they're all getting criticism, the Rambuses, and I know the Wolves fans probably have a lot of love for our Lakers shadow GM Kurt Rambis.
Hmm.
But so I think there's like that human element of it, but I also think that there is the very real thing that her older siblings like all wanted to sell and have for a while, because the way that the Bus family trust works, I'm not sure like how common of knowledge this is, but the shares in the trust, like in the Lakers, would not pass to any of their children if they were to sell, or if they died before the team sold or something like that. So like if Johnny Buss, I believe Johnny's the oldest sibling, like if he had passed, like his kids do not get a share in the Lakers. It just becomes, so the trust would just splits the team 5 ways between the remaining siblings, and like his kids are sort of left out in the cold. So obviously the older siblings had been wanting to sell for a while to sort of set their estates up, and things like that, make sure that their kids receive some portion of that. And like I think for Jeannie, it was just the opportunity to make a lot of money. I think it was the opportunity to sort of get out of the critique business, and you can go back to sort of being like the team mascot like a little bit, and it's like
Sure.
everybody's not mad at you when things don't go well, but you still get to like keep your seats, and get to be Miss Laker and all of that stuff. And so I think there were a lot of things that went into it, but I think it was probably just like, and also like, there were various sort of times where her brothers, both above and below her, have sort of tried to make some power moves and take over, and like sort of plot their own coups. And like I do wonder if like at some point it's just like, hey, I don't sort of want to be in charge of this anymore and fighting off on all sides.
Yeah, that makes sense. You get to be the the secondary owner who just gets to have your nice seats. As Wolves know, Glenn Taylor negotiated his courtside seats, which I'd kind of figured.
Honestly, you have a bad lawyer if you're a rich person selling an NBA team and you don't get the number one fan, courtside seats for life provision as part of the sale. You gotta make sure
That is
that you secure that.
that as a description for Glenn Taylor is wild. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ownership stuff is interesting, and I'm sure basically the Dodger owners or that similar ownership group is coming in. I'm sure that'll pay off because obviously there's a salary cap and all that, but there's not a cap on good coaches and analytics stuff. So I would imagine that, and I would imagine that.
And I think that that's part of it too, is like Jeannie was probably tired. When you mentioned the criticism stuff, it's like, okay, it's not just for basketball decisions. It's for like, hey, like people are regularly like calling you broke and cheap, which probably sucks when you own the Lakers, like to just like have that be your reputation, and people are constantly criticizing you on like, I think to some degree she realized that like the Lakers for a long time, based on their market and based on like their location in the original era of sort of NBA owners, or the last era of NBA owners, they were a big fish, because it's like every NBA owner, most NBA owners were sort of your Glenn Taylors, like your people that they bought the team for very little. And, yes, like they're wealthier than us, but they're not private equity billionaire hedge fund corporate guy wealthy. They're like the majority of their income, like a lot of their income comes from the team, and they want to run the team as a business, where like a lot of these rich guys, like your Steve Ballmers, whoever, they want to run the team as their fantasy team. It's a toy. They aren't like necessarily trying to make money every single year. They are willing to spend on like all these amenities for players, and like the outside stuff for coaches, and hey, we can have the deepest front office. It's sort of like the Dodgers. They want to have the deepest front office in the league. They want to have like the most coaches, the most like sort of like brain power that they can possibly get on their side to help them get the best players when they're willing to spend the most money and things like that. And so yeah, like the Lakers aren't going to have that advantage because of the second apron and because of all that stuff, but they're going to have the advantage of being able to spend more on the auxiliary positions in a way that like frankly this ownership can afford to do, in a way that the Buses could not, because every single time that they spent extra on a coach, it's like, hey, like wait, now I don't get to go on as good of a vacation this year, and like my siblings are mad at me, and all this stuff. And it's like, it's just a different dynamic.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, heading back to the current day Lakers, or at least the on the court. I would imagine, especially watching Austin Reaves play like this, that both sides of the LeBron camp and the Lakers camp have got to be kind of imagining the post LeBron Lakers. Maybe not for this year. Maybe it's. I guess I was just surprised at some of their offseason moves. I remember sitting. I think it was in the media room before like game one of that playoffs. Well, I guess that was in LA, but just kind of feeling like this is the worst version of this Luka Doncic Lakers team that there's going to be. And they're
Yeah.
going to very easily be able to backfill because you got the hardest things figured out. You got like the star players figured out. You just need to find just a half decent bench. I mean, we saw in the playoff series, Redick's not even subbing in the second half of what was that, game 3, game 4.
Yeah.
And then their one move was DeAndre Ayton. And I was just kind of like, that's it? Ayton? And he's played, I think, fairly well. I haven't watched all the Laker games, but like, I think he hasn't looked like the Portland version of, but I don't think you're getting like the Phoenix version that made the finals. And I was just surprised that they weren't able to do more. And it felt like in some ways, like the team got a little worse on the peripheries compared to like the end of the version last year. So I guess, do you think they're just kind of biding time? They have a solid enough team. They're kind of biding their time, and next offseason, maybe LeBron's playing for a different team and you're able to kind of, it's going to be like a Reeves Luka team kind of in full force next year.
Yeah, I mean, to answer this, like, I'll go back to right before media day. I don't know if the Wolves do this, but a lot of teams do, where it's like the exec and the coach is available to the media. It's like a separate day. It's like, hey, like, we'll get this one out of the way, and then all the players can do their stuff on media
The
day.
Wolves did that
And
on
so,
media day. They had Connolly and Finch. Yeah.
yeah, so the Lakers did this with Redick and Pelinka. Yeah, traditionally they do it like the Friday before media day or whatever it is. And so Dave McMenamin of ESPN asked Rob Pelinka, like, do you want LeBron to retire a Laker? Like, that's a very simple, like, that wasn't the exact wording, but it's a very simple question of like, I'm asking what you want. I'm not asking like you to tell a story about like what you think is LeBron best for LeBron or whatever. Like, and Rob said, like, we want LeBron to like do whatever is best for him or whatever. Like, he didn't say we want LeBron to retire a
He
Laker.
just could have said
Like,
yes and
yeah,
nothing.
it's like it's your opinion. It's not like whether, again, you could say we want LeBron to retire a Laker, but we also respect whatever he wants to do. That's a very simple answer, and instead it's like we want LeBron to like get whatever he deserves and all of that, just like dances around it. And so I think that that's very telling of sort of the direction for the team this year, where I think a lot of the reason for the turbulence this summer, and you saw some of the sort of drama with LeBron, is that this is the first time in his career that he has been told no by a team that employs him. And like the Lakers, depending on who you believe, the Lakers either did not offer an extension, or the Lakers would say LeBron's camp didn't ask for one. And whatever. And it's like that both things are probably true. And I can see how LeBron's camp would say, no, this is LeBron James. You come to him and you offer an extension. And the Lakers can have plausible deniability and be like, well, wait, no, you didn't want to extend. You just opted in. We didn't even have any discussions. But just because we didn't come and offer you an extension doesn't mean, like this and that, when it's like, we know that that's what it means for stars. You don't like not offer a star an extension if you want to keep them. And so I think that like, that sort of set up the year as a little bit of a holding pattern style thing, which, as bizarre as it is to say about a team featuring Luka and LeBron and like this level of Austin Reaves, is like the Lakers basically this summer, they didn't do anything that changed any ability of their future, any ability of them to make moves in the future. And so they basically traded Dorian Finney-Smith for Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, and DeAndre Ayton. And it's like, on some level you could say like, hey, like that's a couple more rotation players for one pretty good rotation player. But it's also, none of those moves are like vaulting you over the top to winning a title. Like Marcus Smart in 2025 is not doing that. Like even coupled with DeAndre Ayton for all the talent, again, he's like, okay, and this is like a whole, I won't go too far on this, but like for a guy with the rep for having as much skill as he has, just like absolutely atrocious hands on like catching the ball. I think Ayton, I agree with you. Like he's been fine this year. If anything, he's been above my expectations, but it's like, good Lord, like the man cannot catch a pass. So I think that they right now there were all the leaks over the summer of, they're sort of, we're saving cap space for 2027 and whatever. And we know that's not really how stars move. But I think what the real goal is, hey, we're keeping our books clean. so that in the summer of 2026, if Giannis or if, Star X says, I want to go to my team and I'm going to demand a trade. We want to be in a position. The Lakers are saying we want to be in a position where we have the flexibility to just be able to go make that move and just send draft picks out the door and make like a credible offer to that team. Maybe it's not an offer that like the Thunder could make if they wanted to or something like that, or one of these teams with all the draft picks, but it's like, it's not an embarrassing offer. It's like, you're going to get a number of picks. You're going to get like, some young prospect, maybe, whatever. Again, like you're going to get something for your star. It's not just like the Stars trying to force their way to a team that has absolutely nothing to give. Sort of like, Giannis and the Knicks this summer, where the Knicks like really didn't have like a credible package to give up for Giannis. That's the situation that the Lakers didn't want to be in. If it comes down to it next summer with, Giannis, Jokic, whoever, like these 2027 guys. And you can say like, that's Lakers exceptionalism and that's embarrassing. That shouldn't be their plan. They're really going to punt a year of Luka's prime and whatever. But everybody seems to be on board with this plan. Luka extended. They seem to be slow playing every single injury that anyone has, because I think they secretly kind of don't mind if this is like a stealth tank year and they lose a couple games early and it's like, hey, Luka, actually, like, we're just gonna, let your calf heal a little longer. It's okay. And we're gonna sort of like, this year that we control our pick, we're gonna get a lottery pick in this, like, by all accounts, pretty good draft, and maybe that increases our trade package for someone this summer. And so again, like, this is a team, they have can I curse on here?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so they have been, accused of sort of star fuckery in the past, and that is sort of the Rob Pelinka method. It's like he does not really care about anything but stars or pedigree or whatever, and so I think for as long as he's in charge of the team, the plan is always going to be, okay, now we need to get Luka a co-star, and then we can really give up assets to build the roster, and then we can focus on like rounding out the margins. But they do things very step by step, and like, step two is always, hey, let's go get another star. Like, we don't have any ideas beyond this. We aren't going to think about how can we build a scrappy 3-and-D role player team around this one star. It's like, no, we just need to go get the other star. And then we can figure out how to build a team around that. And, that's hubris to some degree, and that's Lakers exceptionalism, and that's whatever else you want to call it. But like, that's how they believe that they can best build a team. And so I think that is why you're seeing them sort of in a holding pattern this year.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is, like, you mentioned like salary cap space not really being the way anymore. You get these guys anymore. And I think that's especially true for like a team like the Wolves, where no one's ever going to request a trade to the Wolves. The Wolves are at the point now where it's like, if the Wolves were to trade for a guy, they'd be more than happy playing where I'm playing with Ant, a good team. Like,
yeah,
you're not going to get like just people being like, oh, like if it was 10 years ago or whatever, I'm not playing for Minnesota. I mean, go.
Well, and also the ownership seems more willing to spend on like player amenities and stuff. Like, it seems like they've done a lot of things to like sort of change the Wolves' reputation with players too. It's not like the Glenn Taylor sort of skinflint ownership either.
Mm-hmm. And the Wolves have had a good like practice facility for a few years now, across the street from the arena. So, because I know like the Knicks, their practice facility is like not near the arena at all.
Yeah.
Where the Wolves, it's across the street. And it's, if you
the
don't
Lakers
like the
have
cold,
a similar thing where their current arena is not really all that close to their practice. Their practice facility is really nice, but like it would be in traffic. Like, I live near the Lakers practice facility, and like in LA traffic, it can be like 40 minutes from there to get to the crypto.com.
And speaking of traffic, Minnesota, at least by LA standards, doesn't really have traffic in that same way. Obviously, someone gets in a wreck. Like, we do have traffic, obviously, but like, not like.
I mean, very few places have traffic like LA.
Right. I drove through during rush hour Atlanta one time. Holy cow! That's some
Atlanta's
traffic
up there. Like, New York is crazy, obviously.
Sure.
Toronto gets ridiculous. I've been to Toronto in the summertime, and like that can like really slow down. It's different in like the really, really big cities.
Yeah, the Minnesota car issues come with like the snow and ice, obviously, more than just the mass amount of people that come through. But yeah, the ownership group is, I mean, I don't know if you saw like the theater lighting closer to crypto that they recently installed. Looks really, really nice. You felt like you're playing in a high school gym when the whole arena is lit uniformly, and now they have cool lights. I mean, obviously on the court, how much does that change? Maybe nothing, but but like the Lakers, I think, are one of the few teams that can like garner stars through cap space, because it's going to be like, you're really searching for. I would probably be dubious that they're going to be able to get Giannis, just because like I think the Bucks are going to be able to get like he'll end up on San Antonio.
The only way that,
to
be clear, the only way they're getting Giannis is if Giannis goes to the Bucks and says, sort of like he did this summer with the Knicks, and he says, "I want to be a Laker. Can you see what you can make happen?" And the Bucks say, "Okay, we're going to see if we can do right by you and send you to the place that you actually want to go." Like that's how the Lakers get Giannis. It's not because they're able to outbid the Spurs or the Rockets or whoever else, like these teams with all the obviously the Thunder probably aren't going to make a level of that move, but they have all those picks where like they could if that was something that they wanted to do. The Lakers just need to be in a position where they can make the credible threat that, hey, we have the cap space to sign this guy. And so, if you don't want to lose him for nothing in a year, you should trade him for something, and we'll try not to embarrass you with the return.
Yeah, but even if it's like the next level of star behind Giannis, like I do think, like they're gonna be able to get that. Where like if the Wolves were in a similar spot, I'd be like, no, don't you like the Wolves are better off with contracts like Rudy Gobert, where if that's where they want to trade, which I will touch on now because I know that's a common thing. I get the rationale of trading Gobert, but like we just talked about this whole pod, how their defense is terrible, and it's miles worse with him off the court. So it's like. I don't like that's not an easy.
It's miles worse than 27th.
Yes, it's they are with Rudy off the court. They are by far last, way worse than every other team. Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at that, and obviously if you trade Rudy, maybe you're getting back another defensive minded player or whatever. But like, it's not a simple thing. But even just thinking about like contracts and value, like I think the Wolves are a team that's better off having like a different like. I mean, obviously they have. The cat package is Randall and DiVincenzo. They could ship that out for that. I mean, that's a darn near max contract, or it could be Gobert and DiVincenzo if they want to eject from the Mike Conley experience this season. Like that's a $10 million contract that they can like with the Wolves. I think we talked about their assets and they don't have picks, but I do think they have a good stable of young players that are intriguing enough. And I know like this isn't a national name, but like Johan Berenger is going to be really good. I don't know how soon, but like they love him. So I do think of the teams, if you're like making lists of teams that have like 0 picks, or the Wolves will have 1 pick in the off season, like the Wolves are a little bit better set up to make some sort of trade, not a Giannis trade, obviously, but like an upgrade type trade or whatever.
Yeah.
But if they had cap space, I would be like, okay, so you can sign 2 mid-level guys, great.
Like their version of like the Cam Johnson trade, where it's like you're trading a guy like an MPJ that's like on, not a great contract, but you're not having to attach that much to get like an upgrade in player and that sort of thing. Yeah,
I agree. And it'd be less salary dumpy than that because the Wolves are in a better since trading
they don't
Cat.
have any I don't think they have any that are as bad as the MPJ contract, right?
Like, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I mean, they're just thinking about like their worst contract. It's probably Rudy. And even that just kind of feels
and even he's still a high level starter, even if he's a little overpaid.
And it's like at that point, it's just like, you're paying him $5-10 million more than he's technically worth. I don't know. Okay, whatever. We're grasping at straws to find.
It's not like Russell Westbrook making $60 million for your team or whatever. Like I've heard that can be really franchise crippling.
Even like Cat, if they had Cat on this ride, it's why the Cat trade unfortunately makes sense. Even if as like just a pure fan, I really disliked it. Yeah. If they were in this situation, if like a Cat team was in this 2-3 start, it'd be a lot worse. I mean, they'd be in the second apron probably, or they wouldn't have DiVincenzo, Randall, and Naz Reid would have left because of money.
And like this is a whole nother digression, but that's the thing that I hate the most about the second apron is it allows the owners to justify these moves, and they're like, no, it's not because we want to save money, it's because we don't want to like lose draft picks, and it's all these things that you nerdy fans care about, right? Like we're doing it for you. It's not because we want to save money when really it's like you made this rule for yourself so that you wouldn't have to spend this level of money, and so that other people couldn't outspend you, and everybody's calling you broke because Steve Ballmer is spending more than you. I hate the second apron.
I tend to agree. I like in concept, I probably like it just because like I do think it's good to try to keep teams at a relatively even playing field in terms of that. But like you said, the Timberwolves had to trade.
I just don't like giving ownership an excuse to not spend money.
That I tend to agree.
Lakers fan in me as well.
Right. I just like it because the Timberwolves had to trade at the time. the second greatest player in the history of their franchise.
Yeah.
I know Ant was obviously going to pass him in 2 seconds, but like to the second greatest player in the history of the franchise, they had to trade him because of money. That just stinks.
Yeah.
And it worked out. Like it obviously, that trade, even the Gobert, like these big trades.
It's a way smaller level for you guys, but like of the Luka trade, where like again, it's not as unforeseen and like as much of a backstab or whatever. But it's like, hey, this is a guy we had put a lot of like fan like love and resources into and whatever, and now you're having to break him up because of this like contract agreement like thing and stuff, and it's just like that just kind of sucks.
It does suck, and it obviously like. It's like 1/1,000,000th of the Luka thing, especially because Ant is on the team, where a lot of that, especially like younger people, like the true fan. But I don't know, like Dane Moore put it really good because he's been covering the team for a while now. But Cat was the last guy in the roster from back when he was a pure fan, and so he was just kind of like, it made me a little bit emotional because like it's the last piece of my fandom, like pure Wolves fandom that's now out the door. And I'm not quite at that that level covering the team because it's only been a few years, but like, it's just like, I remember being in the with the Reddit trenches, just sticking up for Cat on a burner. And now it's just like, and now he goes to the Knicks and the same positive and negatives are there. And you're just kind of like, part of me is just like,
it's always funny, but one of my favorite parts of trade, I mean, obviously trades like that always kind of suck, but like the only amusing part of them is like watching another fan base like go through the same cycles
the Knicks
that
fans
you went through with a player.
The Knicks fans did the exact same stuff, and weirdly, the Heat fans.
I watch Mavs fans do it with Anthony Davis. It's like, hey, this guy's unbelievable. Wait a second, he's hurt now. Wait, he doesn't want to play center, and it's just like all the like everyone's going through the same arguments that you were having for the last several years.
And Heat fans were doing the same Jimmy Butler stuff that we were doing 7 years ago. Like And I think the Warriors fans were frustrated with Andrew Wiggins. It's like, what year is it? Can't guard anyone at center. Wiggins is not living up to potential, and Jimmy is blowing up a team. What year is it?
Yeah, there's some sort of history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes to that.
Yeah, it's just like all the Knicks stuff is just like I could have told you this. He's a great player, but like you got to at least rationalize his peccadillos or whatever. But I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Anything to plug? Anything you want to get out there?
No, just I mean, if you're a Wolves fan, you're probably already checking out Canis Hoopus, but check out SB Nation. We use the feed, the new tool that we have on the site for people to start their own discussions if you would like, and be able to get your own discussion topics going with your friends. And I have found that I'm obviously not like in the trenches in like Wolves fandom or whatever, but I have found that like it is a much more reasonable place than like Twitter to have like Lakers discussions with people that want to talk about the team and like don't want to say like why like they don't want to just like personal attacks and all kinds of stuff, and like they'd rather just like talk about you can have a more nuanced discourse about the team on our websites, I think, than you can just in the Reddit trenches or on Twitter or on Blue Sky or whatever. And so I would just say check out the feed if you for the Wolves or any other team that you may be following and listening to Two Words Wolves Pod.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I use the feed for like basically a lot of stuff I post on social just kind of goes up on the feed. A good example of that was the Target Center unveiled new foods, and I was like, I might as well throw this up on the feed. And some of the feedback for the new foods was pretty. The Philly sandwich. There was like Philly people that were like, that's an abomination of a Philly sandwich.
I'm going to have to go check this out after this. I was not aware of this, but now I will be going into the Canis trenches.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Harrison, for coming on. For Harrison, I'm Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Go Wolves.
Hey, you.